أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين وأبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is the fifth majlis in this series of majalis in which I've been reciting this verse from Surah Tawbah, verse number 119, which is a commonly recited ayah, and the translation is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the mu'mineen that, O those who have faith, fear Allah and be with those who are truthful. And the discussion you are all well aware of has been under this sermon from Nahj-ul-Balagha, sermon number 193. In some manuscripts it may be 192, which is the khutbah to a companion of our first Imam by the name Hammam. And it is known as Khutbatul Muttaqeen. And there have been many commentaries that have been done as far as this khutbah is concerned. The one that I am using, if anyone is interested in knowing the material that I'm bringing, where the source is the translation and the tafsir and the sharh of this khutbah, the commentary of this khutbah done by Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi in 2 volumes. So obviously, when he sat down to go ahead and do the sharh of this khutbah, which talks about 110 attributes of muttaqeen and the pious, he went all out on it, that he ended up doing it on 2 big volumes. And obviously, this is something which will not be brought all at once or even in 12 nights, and therefore I will only bring those things and those issues which may be relevant to us to an extent, skipping many of the examples that are given which may be redundant and have been heard on and off on other occasions. When we discuss the concept of taqwa, and we have inshallah thus far explained it and described it in much detail, but still, every night I like to bring in one aspect of it that is something new to the discussion. And therefore, we see that even when we were giving the examples of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resembled with taqwa, one of the things that He called or resembled it with, metaphorically speaking, was libas. He called libas to be taqwa. And similarly, He called husband and wife to be libas for one another. And therefore, you hear this tradition from the Holy Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where he says, Man tazawwaja faqad ahraza nisfa dine. فَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهَ فِي النِّصْفِ الْبَاقِي. that whoever got married indeed secured half their religion. And taqwa is the name of securing your religion, securing your deen. And how beautiful it is that in the time and space and the place that we live in, that every moment our integrity is challenged, our modesty is challenged, our honor is challenged, that this marriage comes in and safeguards us to the extent that it's considered to be half protection of your religion. And therefore, the remaining half, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ فِي النِّصْفِ الْبَاقِي. Now still you have to protect the remaining half of your deen, and that it still has to be taken care of with your piety and God-wariness. And therefore there are many examples of Ahlul Taqwa, that how they dealt and coped with things is still that they were, ordinary individuals. Just to make my point clear, there's a story that is mentioned in reference to a lady. Both of these stories are in reference to women, who was a very pious lady, parhezgar, muttaqi. As usually is the case amongst our gatherings, our families as well, that women are more pious, more ibadat guzar, more parhezgar than men. Generally speaking, that is the case. And so she was also very, parhezgar and muttaqi and whatnot. One night, she sees in her dream Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, it's very difficult for one to fathom someone that you haven't seen, comprehend Allah. But obviously, because we have made and thought of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one way or another, therefore that object will appear in your minds, although it is impossible. It's muhal. But nonetheless, you could imagine anything, and that could be seen in your imagination. That could be seen in your dream as well. Some people said, Maulana, I saw Imam Zamana. Good. If you had seen Imam Zamana in real life, then it makes sense that you may see him in your dream. But it is not out of the realm of possibility that you may or may not see him. So there is no denying your claim. But she said, I saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I said to him that, oh Allah, I want you to be my guest one day. She said Allah told her that I will come to your house tomorrow. When she wakes up in the morning, she starts cleaning the house, like you would do so when you are waiting for a guest to arrive. She prepares meal, thinking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will require meal as well. And there have been many stories as such, even in the time of Hazrat Musa, who stopped an individual from saying, oh Allah, I wish you were close to me so that I could comb your hair. There are stories like that. To which Hazrat Musa stopped that man from doing and saying such a thing, which is na saza to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is not according to the shan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But nonetheless, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala scolded Hazrat Musa, saying, no, don't go back to that man, because he used to remember me in that way. Now you kept him away from remembering my remembrance. So she also was very simple in this reference, and so she started cleaning the house, preparing meal. And then she was waiting. As you're waiting for a guest, someone knocks on the door. She opens the door. There was an old faqir who asked for help. She turned him down, saying, I was waiting for someone else, and this faqir showed up. Go away. And then she gets busy in preparation. Another knock on the door. Now this time there was a lady who said, if you have any food, I'm hungry, can you provide me for it? She again turns that lady down. And then it becomes the evening time. Someone knocks on the door. It was a child who said, I'm in need of money. I'm in need of any help that you could provide. She turns him down as well. And it becomes nighttime, and so she was disappointed. Again in her dream, she sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and says, oh Allah, you did not keep up your promise. You wanted to come, and you didn't. Allah responded by saying, I knocked on your door 3 times. 3 times I knocked on your door, and every time you turned me down. So it is quite possible that a lot of time this opportunity is knocking on our doors, yet we are heedless of who's coming. Because the ayat of Quran is clear in this reference as well, that do you not know that as far as sadaqah is concerned, Allahu ya'khudhu sadaqat. Allah is the one who takes the sadaqah from you. And that's why our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, would kiss the hand of the beggar. When he would put something on the hand of the beggar, he would kiss it. People say, why would you kiss the hand of the beggar? Because Imam would recite this ayah, that indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who takes the sadaqah. So the hand of this beggar becomes, obviously, figuratively speaking, metaphorically speaking, hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, I'm kissing the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I'm putting this money on their hand. So therefore, in this reference, it is possible that we could be muttaqi and parhezgar in reference to when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet be heedless of what are the needs in our surrounding. And do not know that who is knocking on our door and who is in need. In fact, to the extent that the Islamic teachings go, they should take care of the one who's in need before they have to raise their voice and ask for the need. That is how it should be done, and that is how it should be worked out. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ala. If you remember last night, the discussion that we were having was in reference to the sifat of muttaqeen, that hajatuhum khafifa. That muttaqeen are those, their needs are scanty, they're thin, they're very little or few. And there was a discussion that we were having, which I was having issue explaining, so I diverted from that discussion. I don't know if you realized or not, but I did. So I thought, instead of going into it when I can't explain it properly, let me just go back, rethink, and inshallah I'll be able to explain it better. And we were discussing when we look at things from their wujud and their adam-e wujud. So we gave example of hayat and death, for example, faqr and ghina, for example, health and illness, for example. And these were some of the examples that we had given. When it comes to hayat, which is hayat, it's a reality, something which you and I cannot deny. Same thing goes for maut, which is also a reality. There's no farar from the maut. And both of these things are what? They are considered to be amongst the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So hayat is a reality. An object is alive, not in comparison with another object which is alive or dead. So that should be understood. That if an object is alive, it is not due to the comparison that you're making with something which is not alive. And as far as the colors are concerned, white and black are real attributes. If something is white, without comparison to another object, it is white. The moment you compare it, then it becomes the issue of adame wujud, or lack of that thing. So for example, this wall is white and this wall is black. Only when you're comparing the two, you will say, well, this is lack of white, for example, or this is lack of black, for example. But when it comes to big or small, these are relative. Because whenever you say something is big, you are usually referencing it in reference to something which is small. Or when you say something is small, you're referring to it in comparison with something which is big. And it is quite possible for something which is small to be big in comparison to another object, yet small in comparison to another object. For example, an apple, in comparison with grapes, it's big. In comparison with watermelon, for example, it's small. So there is quite a possibility of, this comparison. Because this is relative to the other object in comparison with it. This is where the question arises when it comes to qada or qadr, when it comes to legislation, when it comes to the law that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stipulated for us. For law to be good means that it keeps in mind the interest of everyone in the society, not one certain individual. So you can't say, well, Maulana, music does not have any impact on me, so is it okay for me to listen? No. You may have a very good self-determination and control, but law will not change for you. Similarly, when you're driving around, you say, well, I'm very careful driver. You can ask anyone my record. So that means, can I speed, for example, on certain roads or go above the speed limit? No. Law will remain same for everyone. But when you compare it, it could be, harmful to one, and it may not be harmful to another individual. That is when you start comparing these two things. And therefore, it ensures freedom to individuals to an extent, but it's not possible to satisfy everyone. Not everyone will be satisfied with it. Same thing goes with Islamic laws. Same thing goes with the legislation of Islam, that there are many ahkam which might turn you off. But in reality, in actualization, those laws are inherently, they are good. Now, does that mean law is bad? No. Maybe in comparison to you, because it's going against you. For example, someone who does not have any savings, they don't have to pay any khums. But someone who makes a lot of money and has a lot of savings, they have to pay, for example, khums. So will they say, well, this law is against me? Someone will say, well, this law does not even apply to me. And therefore, don't start comparing for individuals. It is for everyone in the society all at once, and serving everyone in the society all at once will not be possible to satisfy everyone. And we've seen it ourselves. When you travel, when you go for ziyarat, when you go to Hajj, when you go to different places, you see, or when you, for example, just this Majlis Azam. Not that I'm trying to satisfy anyone over here in particular. Do I have need to satisfy anyone in particular? You are all, my elders. You've known me for many years. I grew up in front of you. I respect you a great deal. I'm inspired from you, by you, and I learned from your experiences. But that does not mean that I'm trying to impress you by anything. Not that I have said anything thus far that was impressive at all. But it's still, there isn't, because it is possible that some people may have been impressed. And they haven't come forth and said that yet, but it's possible that some people may have been impressed, but it is possible that some people may have been what? Disappointed. So I was not keeping in mind the majority or everyone that is present in front of me. See the challenge that I as a speaker have, a talib ilm has, that I have a 7-year-old sitting in front of me, and I have a 15-year-old sitting in front of me, I have a 30-year-old sitting in front of me, I have a 60, 70, 80-year-old sitting in front of me. Similarly, I have different genders sitting in front of me, listening to me. So it's very difficult to be able to please everyone. So as long as I keep this concept of pleasing only Sayyidul Shuhada and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think I will be able to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. So that is as far as the khulus and sincerity in the discussions that comes about. So therefore, does that mean law is bad if it goes against me, for example, because I have to pay tax, because I have to pay this, because I have to pay that? No. Only relatively speaking is bad, but not in actuality. It is serving the good for the entire society. Very common example. The venom, the deadly venom that the snake or serpent has. It may be bad for you and I because it could take our lives, but it is not bad for that serpent, that snake itself, because that is serving him as a means of protection. So this is how you look at things when it comes to comparison. So therefore we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He addresses maut and hayat, He says what? تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكِ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَكْثَرُ عَمَلًا No, أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. That is the tarif in ayat of Quran. That when He created hayat and maut, both of these things become the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The purpose was لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, so that He may test you. أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, that which one of you have best of the actions. And therefore don't condemn this dunya that you're sent in. Yes, there's a lot of condemnation towards this dunya in this Nahj-ul-Balagha by Amirul Mu'mineen. Ghurri ghairi, go ahead and deceive someone else. That it is a place of gharur or ghurur rather, which is a deceiving place. But at the same time, there's so many things which are presented in madh of this dunya as well. For example, ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah. This world is place for you to, plant a seed for the hereafter. Whatever you plant over here, you will cultivate over there. So therefore, it is the best opportunity for you to go ahead and invest so that you may be able to reap the benefits of it tomorrow when you're really in need. Therefore, this serves as this mazra'ah. When the discussion of mazra'ah came about, there's a riwayah which is beautiful in an essence that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to utilize your time and not squander it. He says that that Qayamat is, for example, tomorrow. It's about to take place. You can see the athar of Qayamat that it could be any day. And you have in your hand a fasil, a plant that you can go ahead and put into the ground so that it may become a tree tomorrow. He said, don't squander the opportunity to go ahead and plant it. Because it is possible that Qayamat is delayed and that becomes a plant, becomes a tree which will serve mankind tomorrow. So use that opportunity, even though you know that Qayamat will take place tomorrow. What good is it that if I go ahead and plant it or not? No, you go ahead and do your duty because that's how you will be tested and that's how you will be treated. Therefore, I may have recited this as well, that if you have 2 days remaining in your life, imagine if doctors tell us that, and to an extent in the advancement of medical science, they are able to tell you that you have maybe a couple of months, few months for example. They may not be particular or specific, but they're to an extent correct. But obviously, maut and hayat is in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it could always change. He could always alter the plans. He could always, prolong someone's life. Examples are all in front of us. But imagine if you were sure that there are only 2 days remaining in your life, how would you spend those 2 days? I know how I would spend those 2 days. I'm not driving anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just sitting in musalla and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing tawbah as much as I can. None of the things will be on my list of priorities. I will drop all of the priorities when I know there are only 2 days remaining in my life. And so I want to use this opportunity as much as I can because I don't really have a great deal of time. And therefore you see, people when they get advanced in their age, when they start talking about, we don't have much time left. And this is where they realize that what they have done for the hereafter and what they haven't done for the hereafter. People such as Ayatollah Burujardi. His students, he was sitting with them. And he says in his dua that, oh Allah, I have not done anything which would take me to paradise. And the students who were sitting there said, if someone of your caliber, who's marja of all of the alam at that time, ustadul ulama, thinks that none of their actions can take them to paradise, then what is going to happen to us? You have written so many books. You have prepared so many, students. You have done so much service to Ahl Tashayyu in particular, Ahl Islam in general, and even to the world. And you're saying that you're not sure if anything was acceptable in the bargah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's getting this idea from Masumi. That when Ma'asum gives something in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and people say, Imam, what is the need? Imam says, how would I know that what I did was accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So I continue to do this good deed because I don't know which one of these actions are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Ma'asum is showing this uncertainty when it comes to their actions, then who are you and I when it comes to our actions? So Ayatollah Burujardi was making this dua, and students right away, they started fearing that if a person of his caliber, regarding Imam Khomeini, it is also mentioned that when he was arrested, and he was taken from Qom to Tehran. Jadda Qom Tehran, those who have gone for the ziyarat, it's an hour and a half long drive from Qom to Tehran. Back in the day, maybe the roads weren't as good, so longer drive. He said they arrested him at, night time. And it was close to morning. And obviously, he was sitting in this car where there's a guard on his right side and a guard on the left side. And Imam writes about this in his khatarat that I was sitting peacefully and comfortable while those two guards were shaking and shivering as if I was arresting them and they weren't arresting me. But that was obviously because of his itminan to what he had done. And then he said right away, I saw it was time for Salatul Fajr. I asked him, did iltimas, can you stop, pull over so I can do 2 rakat namaz? They said, no, we don't have any orders. We have to bring you to Shah and we have to take you into his custody. Imam said, yes. But it's time for salat. You know this is a Muslim country and you're the followers as well. That it's time for namaz. So, and the time for salat al-fajr is very limited. By the time we arrive, it'll be qaza. Look at the pareshani that a person, a faqih has for 2 rakat namaz. Yes, and gosh, we showed similar, pareshani when it came to us, when we are traveling, when it comes to our salah. When we arrive, inshallah, we'll pray then. I don't want to pray on the way because, someone might see us, or taharat, or najasat, or this and that. Hazar excuses. We want to pray at the comfort of our house where there's everything. No. It's your duty. Go ahead and perform the salat on the way if you have to. So he said, I requested them again. I said, look at me. I'm an old man. And this is probably when he's, already in his 70s. He said, I'm an old man. You think I'm going to run away in the middle of this, highway at night time? Are you afraid of that? Let me pray. So they agreed and they stopped over. They pulled over and Imam Khomeini said, I went ahead and performed 2 rakat salat. Then he writes in his khatarat that I don't think any of my salat throughout my life that I led or prayed individually were accepted, but I have yaqeen that 2 rakat salat that I performed in that condition where I had to do iltimas is probably accepted in the bargah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the way I had to struggle for it. So right away you see that how, things, even in a small action of yours could convert and change the complexion entirely and how it could bring the benefits. Salawat bheji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So don't blame this world for all the deceiving that it may have. No, even this Quran that you and I have in our houses, this could be deceiving as well. And I'll prove you how. History has told us that there were Quran that were raised on the spears. And there were many who were deceived by it. That they stranded Quran in Natiq, Amirul Mu'mineen, and they went after Quran Samit, which was raised on the spears. So if Quran is not taken alongside with the Itrat Ahlul Bayt, then obviously this Quran could also be misleading in that aspect. And even after that, we've seen so many people have gone ahead and misinterpret Quran to their own favor. Taken out the ayat out of context, explaining, what they want to go ahead and get out of it. Not realizing the riwayat of Masumeen, our 6th Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam has said, Man fassara al-Qur'ana bi ra'yihi falyatabawwa'u maq'adahu an-nar. Whoever does the tafsir of Quran based on their own whims and opinions, then their final abode is the hellfire. So therefore be careful when it comes to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it could be that it may mislead, but as long as you stay connected with that explanation provided by Masumeen, then obviously this book will be in its complete form until hatta yarida alayya al-hawd, as the Prophet promised. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So in many cases, we have actually seen that insan has converted the goods that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided into evil. And ayat of Quran are in front of us. Again, going back to that discussion of good and evil, does it exist? Is it all good, or is there anything evil? Or if evil is there, how do we cope with it? How we understand? No. Insan many a times has actually converted the goods that Allah has provided to him into evil. And there's so many ayat in this reference, I will skip the ayat, that it says, Alam tara ila alladhina baddalu ni'matallahi kufra. Have you not seen towards those people who converted the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into what? Into kufr. Into ghayri ni'mat. Allah had given them a ni'mat of aql, and they became fitteen. They misused this aql. And that's why when Amirul Mu'mineen was asked in reference to Muawiyah as to how shatir he is and how he utilizes his aql, Imam said, Tilkan nakira. No, that's evil. That's the utilization of aql in the wrong sense. He's misusing this aql, and that's how he's able to mislead people and raise the spear, Quran onto the spears and yet people were deceived right away. So in many cases, it is insan who converts many of God's creations into evil. For example, the atomic energy that we have, atom bomb, which is created with it, there's so much that could be derived and used from it. As one country continues to say that, our program is not for making a bomb, rather it is to enrich our, economy. It is to enrich as far as providing electricity is concerned, or, other means of energy and, help secure farming needs, keep economy rolling. No. But they continue to tell them, no, this is for that purpose only. So insan uses it for their own needs and own purpose. Instead of using it properly, they use it to destroy towns. They use it to destroy, humanity. And even to the extent the places where these bombs land, even the sand and the water of those places is corrupted and is unusable. Just imagine the calamity that it causes. But do you go ahead and blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this sort of evil of atomic bomb exists, that Allah gave this aql to insan to go ahead and create? No, how you utilize it. And you've heard the examples all along, the wujud of knife in your hand, how you use it to, for example, cut vegetables or fruits so you can eat it, or you go ahead and use it to go ahead and take someone's life. It is all dependent, relative to how you go ahead and use something, whether it is being used for good reasons or for bad reasons. So Imam says that muttaqeen are those hajatuhum khafifa. Their needs are scanty. Wa anfusuhum afifa. And their nufus, as far as their souls are concerned, they are modest, they are chaste. To understand the needs of muttaqeen, just to give some examples so that we can go quickly through this 13th attribute that Imam is mentioning in reference to muttaqeen. Look at the needs that insan has. What are my needs? For example, right now, what is it that I'm in need of? I'm in need of air. Alhamdulillah, I have the air. I'm in need of, for example, food and drink to be able to survive. There are things that are not really needed. I'm not really in need. But yet I feel sometimes these unrealistic needs that humans create for themselves, which they are really not in need. Therefore, for example, someone who's traveling is the very best example. You go ahead and tell, someone is traveling for a 10-day trip or 2 weeks trip. They're going for ziyarah, they're going to Hajj, for example. They'll go ahead and pack, because airline allows you to take 2 suitcases, you're going to go ahead and utilize every inch of that suitcase to take whatever it is that you carry with you. And even on top of that, you're going to take a carry-on and you're going to take a purse along with it as well, because all of those are allowed and you don't have to pay extra for it. But the moment you have to pay extra in the airlines when you travel local, then you see how we are very choosy and picky in what we are traveling with. We're traveling very light. So we go ahead and add on these things, which we sometimes end up not using. But we put it to be what? A weight upon ourselves and weight upon those who are traveling with us, for example. Because these were the things that we weren't really in need. And look at the worry that an insan has on a trip of a week or 2 weeks. That, they're asking what kind of clothes I should bring, how many clothes I should bring, what kind of food items should I bring, medicines should I bring, other things that are not available, for example, in the country that I'm traveling, should I bring? What kind of currency they have? Should I bring the currency from over here? How much currency should I bring? All of these questions. And then before you travel, you're doing your own research, going online, Googling the place and the weather and the environment and all of those things. For what? Merely a 2-week travel. Have we paid enough attention to the travel that we all have to take to this eternal abode, which will be forever? How much homework have we done for that travel? Have we put in thought that at least we should have some things ready for that travel, that all of us, it's inevitable to avoid that travel? But how much thought have we put into that travel? Have we prepared our ticket? By ticket I mean, have we prepared our will? Have we prepared, our visa? By that I mean, for example, have we purchased a grave? Have we bought a kafan? Have we kept these things with us? No. Maulana, you don't talk about kafan and buying a kafan. Keeping a kafan will bring death closer to us. Buying a grave, for example, means that I'm, just bidding farewell to my life, for example. Writing a will means that's it. Life is done and I'm about to leave. No, none of these things will bring your death any closer or further away. لا يستأخرون ولا يستقدمون. It can neither bring it close nor can it bring it far away from you. Whatever the time is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stipulated for you, that will remain to be the time. These things, buying these things or securing these things will not make anything come closer or further away. So don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Graveyards are built, but they remain until someone passes away. Only then we realize, go ahead and buy it now. No, go ahead and purchase it ahead of time. It's not going to go ahead and bring death closer to you by all means. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we need to separate these real needs with these unrealistic needs. And therefore, see, one of the reasons of this global poverty that we see in the world is because of the accumulation of wealth by a few, which is now depriving others of this right. And therefore, Islam always created this sense so that everyone could be brought together on the same scale of balance. That everyone can feel how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants everyone to feel when they're all same. And Hajj again is the best of the examples for that. When you go to Miqat, this is where your egos are left behind. This is where your worldly statuses are left behind. When you arrive in this Miqat wearing this robe, two-piece clothing that you're wearing, and everybody's wearing the same thing, they're white, and you're making this niyat and you're saying labbaik, all of the egos have been left behind. The bodies are left behind, souls are actually moving forward. And that's how you're actually embarking on this journey. And therefore a writer and author writes that Hajj does not begin when you put on the ihram, when you perform the tawaf, when you do sa'i between Safa and Marwa, when you stay and do Arafat, when you stay in Muzdalifah, when you stay in Mina, when you perform Tawaf Hajj, when you perform Tawaf Nisa. No, Hajj does not begin then. The moment you get on that plane, arrive back home, only then Hajj begins. That in those 12, 15, 20, 30, 40 days that you spend in that country performing this wajib obligation, did that bring any change into you or not? Was that able to reform you or not? That you came back, were you a same person? Were you a changed individual? And changed in the sense that you had actually become someone better. So therefore, all of these, for example, fasting in the month of Ramadan. One of the main explanations given by Masumeen, our 11th Imam, Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salatu wasalam, when he explains the philosophy of fasting, he says, لَيَجِدَ الْغَنِي مَسَّ الْجُوعِ. So that those who are aghniya, those who are rich, they understand the hunger, and they're able to, must mean they're able to feel it. It's a tangible thing. They're able to feel it, sense what hunger is like, because they are unaware of hunger. And there does not go by a day when they feel this hunger. But for these 30 days, 29 days, whatever the case may be, this is only they are able to understand how those who are less fortunate, how they go through their lives. And so they're able to put themselves in their shoes at least for a month. And when something is done repeatedly for a month, then it sort of becomes a habit of yours and you're able to realize. But if it was only for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, anyone can go ahead and fast. But if for 30 days, then it really becomes a challenge for you to go through it. So therefore, all of these acts of worship are basically there to do what? To bring us back to that humanity, that realization that everyone is equal in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The concept as far as the I need this, I need this, I need this, I can buy this, I can buy this. The concept of spend as much as you want and then pay later. That concept in this country in particular has really, added on to the depths of the people, and they become, under this great depth, and they're unable to come out of it, and now they're stuck. They're strangled from all ends, they can't move. But this ability was given to you initially. Go ahead and spend as much as you want to. You have this credit card in your hand, you're spending with the money that you don't possess and you don't own. You go ahead and swipe it, and you can go ahead and buy anything that you want to within the limit that has been given to you. And you can just make the minimum payments to go ahead and pay. You don't even have to pay for the entire price of that object that you have purchased. You can pay it, for example, in several months' time, so it is affordable for you. It becomes affordable for everyone. And this is how you go ahead and increase on your debts, because eventually you're unable to pay for it. This concept, unfortunately, somehow came and became part of our lives as well. That a lot of people are unaware of the fact that no, you can't just use this credit card and then with the thinking, go ahead and make minimum payment. And then basically you're signing up for what? Signing up to pay interest. Signing up for riba, usury, interest, which is absolutely haram. There are riwayat which I can't even mention from the minbar. It requires another workshop to discuss those riwayat which are mentioned, age-appropriate riwayat in fact. When it comes to riba, the comparison that is given when it comes to someone who consumes riba and interest is just mind-blowing. You want, I can share with you afterwards. That how Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, just hinting it towards it, compares it that it is worse than adultery, which is committed in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I won't go further what he said afterwards. So that's how bad it is. But how easily it is for us to go ahead and do it. That we go ahead and consume this interest. That we go ahead and start paying this interest. We're signing up for it. Yeah, there are some exceptions that have been given to you. Only exceptions which are still far-fetched for scholars how they were able to give that exception. But that's something which may be out of necessity. But not every place. So therefore, if you do have this, and everybody does have credit cards, you use it, make sure that you use it properly so that you're making complete, full payment. Only then it is allowed for you to go ahead and use it. You can't just swipe it and say, well, I'll pay interest and I'll sign up for paying interest. How bad this concept of interest. A lot of times things have not settled in as far as their qubh and their ugly nature is concerned. When we don't realize the ugly nature of something, we go ahead and do it. Someone said to Imam that how you're masoom, so you don't commit sins. Imam said, we don't commit sins? Forget about that. We don't even think about committing sins. He said, well, how is it possible? Then Imam gave him an example. He said, sins to us is like, the waste of animals or humans. Or that rotten food. That, for example, you're hungry and there's this food in front of you, but it has gone bad. You can smell it that it has rotten and, last night or day before, or it's been just sitting there. Or there's poison in it, or whatever the case may be. Would you go ahead and eat it, even if you're really, really, really hungry? He said, no. I'm worried about my health, so I won't put that in my body. He said, sins are the same way for us. That not only that we don't do it, we don't even think about doing it. Do you think about eating rotten food? No. When you and I don't think about eating rotten food, Imam says we don't think about committing sins either. So that you understand the ugly nature of something, the moment you realize the ugly nature of that particular thing, then it'll be easy for you to separate yourself. But, hurmatul riba, I'll just mention a couple of riwayat in this. It says, Inna Allah la'ana akilur riba wa mu'kilahu wa katibahu wa shahidai. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends His la'nat on the one who consumes riba, akilur riba, wa ma'kulihi, the one who's, for example, providing it, wa katibihi, the one who's documenting it, wa shahidaihi, the one who's becoming witness on this riba. All of them are what? Being condemned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is an exception to this riba as well. لَيْسَ بَيْنَ الْوَالِدِ وَوَلَدِهِ riba وَلَا بَيْنَ الزَّوْجِ وَالْمَرْأَةِ riba. There isn't any riba when it comes to a father and a son, or a husband and a wife. You can go ahead and give riba to each other, interest to each other, and it will not be considered haram. Salawat Biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Because the reason is there's so much emphasis as it is to go ahead and take care of them. You're already supposed to go ahead and take care of them. Buy as much as you can. So therefore, it is allowed for you to go ahead and deal with them even if you wanted to in riba, so that you're giving them some sort of incentive that if you give me this much, I'll give you, for example, double the amount. And it will be allowed between father and a son. It will be allowed between husband and a wife, if it was obviously meant for that. As it is, you're supposed to take care of them. So much emphasis is laid upon, taking care of the family. A lot of families that are now breaking apart. There's so much broken marriages, and, there's a very little survival rate as far as the marriages are concerned. It is, majority of the time, is lack of care that is provided, that they don't take care of each other properly. And when they don't take care of each other properly, now a lot of time it could be from one side or the other, so I'm not denying those instances either. But majority of the time you see that they're not properly taking care of one another, and when there's so much emphasis has been laid as far as Islamic family structure is concerned, how do you go about taking care of one another? For example, when the Holy Prophet Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he ascended to Mi'raj, he said, I saw maktubun alal arshillah, that this was maktub on the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just imagine if something is maktub on the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has to have some sort of weight. It has to have some sort of meaning. What was maktub alal arshillah? As-sadaqatu bi-ashratin wal-qardatu bi-thamaniyati ashr wasilatul rahim bi-thalathin. That ashara or sadaqah that you give, you get tenfold out of it. We all know as far as sadaqah is concerned and the benefits of it. But when you give qarza, loan to someone, which you are anticipating return, that's 18-fold reward you're given. So, well, why? I thought sadaqah would be more rewarding. So no, when you give sadaqah, you don't know where it's landing, who is going to be utilizing it, whether they're in need or not in need. So therefore, there are tenfold reward for it. But when you give qarza, you know that the person that you're giving this qarza to, this loan to, they're in need. That's why they're asking for it. So you're fulfilling someone's need by giving them qarza, although they have to return it to you, but there's more reward. So there's incentive given to you over here. So you take care of those who are in need. وَصِلَةُ الرَّحِمْ بِثَلَاثِينَ. But when you take care of your own family and you provide for them, you take care of them, the reward is 30-fold, 30 times. 3 times as much as that of the sadaqah that you had given, which you don't know in whose hand this sadaqah may have landed. So taking care of the relatives and relieving them of their needs purifies your actions, increases your wealth. All of these things happen. When things are drying up, you have to chop it off. You have to take care of it so that they don't dry up. And there's more that will come in return for you if you're able to chop off the wild branches that are coming off of the tree. A lot of time when people say, well, how is it that if I give khums 1/5 from my savings, how is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it will increase my wealth? Or how is it this zakat, which is from purification of your wealth, that by giving zakat, I'm actually going to increase my, wealth? No, I know the math. It's very simple. If I have $100, I give 20% of it and $20 as khums, I have 80 left now. That is less than 100. I know that much. So how are you telling me that it is increasing? And the example is very simple. The tree that is growing in your backyard, if you want it to produce fruits, you go ahead and chop off those branches that have dried up. The moment you chop off those branches, you'll see the new branches will come out of it, and it will provide extra and more that you actually are in need of. Salawat Beji Muhammad wa alayhi wa. So we will all be rewarded for this, that you take care of your family. In Hadith Qudsi, we find that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers the less fortunate to be his ayal and his family. He says, Yabna Adam, al-malu mali. O children of Adam, the wealth is my wealth. Al-mal that you have, mali, it's my wealth. Wal-fuqara'u ayali. And those who are destitute, they are my ayal, they are my family members. وَمَنْ بَخِلَ مِنْ مَالِي عَلَىٰ ayali. And whoever stingy and miserly from my wealth towards my family, it's my wealth and it's my family. And whoever stingy and miserly in spending from my wealth towards my ayal, adkhalahu an-nar wala ubali. I will definitely send him towards the fire, and I have no worries about it whatsoever. So therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is considering them to be what? His own family members, his own ayal, as far as this is concerned. You know, Prophet even showed those individuals, they may have been kuffar, but when their families were captive, they came into the captivity of Islam, Rasulullah dealt with them nicely. Hatim Ta'i, known for his generosity when his children were captured, the Prophet dealt with them with generosity. He said, why? Because their father had a sifat which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Even if it's coming from someone who's an unbeliever, even if it's coming from someone who's a disbeliever. So, going back to our khutbah, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Anfusuhum afifa. That muttaqeen, the 14th sifat of attribute of muttaqeen is that their souls are chaste. Their souls are modest. There's iffat in it. And therefore, iffu anin nisa innas ta'uffu nisaakum. You show chastity towards the nisa and the women of others, they will show chastity towards your females as well. That concept of modesty and the concept of chastity, how chaste, being chaste, how Islam explains that. And how sometimes it could be taken out of proportion when it comes to, for example, the concept of, when it comes to hijab and all of these things in Islam, how it could be taken out of context. So I won't go in those details. But if you want the best example of chastity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give you an example of a woman in Quran who protected themselves and who were modest and they showed iffat. He gave an example of a man, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. The example of Hazrat Yusuf, that the queen of Misr, Zulaykha, is passionate towards him, and she has this plan where it says, وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ وَقَالَتْ هَيْتَ لَكَ. That she closed all the doors and she called him towards her. You know, when you try to hide something, a matter that you want to keep it private, if Allah wants everyone to find out about it, nothing that you can do that will prevent it from happening. The ayah said, غَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ, did not say أَغْلَقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ. أَغْلَقَ means to close. غَلَّقَ in Arabic, there are some Arabs sitting over here, they'll correct me if I'm wrong, coming from taghliq, that shows emphasis on the closing of the door. Muhkam, mustahkam, that there's no way of opening it. It cannot be easily opened. And they did not say غَلَّقَتِ الْبَابِ, one door, no, abwab. There were many doors that were closed. Why? So that it becomes even more secure. Imagine if you go to a building, there's a door after door after door, there's no way of you getting out of it. So she tried all of these things to keep it as private as possible. But until Qiyamah, every single person will find out about it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deemed it that way. But Hazrat Yusuf alayhi wasalam was able to safeguard himself. How? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided that safeguarding for him. Because he intended that, oh my Lord, sijn, prison is preferable to me than falling into this immodesty. I prefer being a slave and I prefer being in prison over being open and azad and free to go ahead and commit all of these sins and all of these crimes. And then, you have examples of iffat in other places as well. There was a person by the name Abdullah ibn Afif as well. And he had lost both of his eyes. One in battle of Jamal, another in battle of Siffin. But he did not attain martyrdom. So he was always worried as to why is it that he did not become a shaheed, yet he lost both of his eyes. But he realized that aspect when he realized it on the day in Kufa when he heard the voice of Bibi Zainab Salamullah alaiha. Then he said, oh, now I understand why both of my eyes were taken away. So that there will come a day when the daughter of the Holy Prophet, the daughter of Ali and Butul will be marching in the land of Kufa and people will be doing tamasha. They will be looking at her with her head open. So therefore the concept of chastity, the concept of, showing sabr, the concept of muttaqeen, being at that level where they're able to cut down as far as their desires are concerned. The hajatuhum khafifa, their needs are scanty. All of these are akhlaqiyat that there's so many books that are written in this reference. And I'll just give you one final example and I'll bring you towards conclusion and masaib. That there's a book called Jami' Sa'ada or Jami' Sa'adat, collection of felicities, been translated into English by Mullah Mehdi Naraqi. He was a scholar who did a lot of work on akhlaq, and he wrote this book. His contemporary was Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum, if you may have heard of his name. Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum was in Najaf. Mullah Mehdi Naraqi was in Naraq, near Qom. He was in Iran. And so this book, Jami' Sa'ada, reaches Najaf. And when it reaches Najaf, it reaches in the hands of, Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum. He takes this book, he reads it, and he's so impressed by it. He praises the author, whom he has never seen. He praises the author. It wasn't the time as it is today, these days, that all the maraje and the scholars, they know each other. No, that wasn't the time. So he praised the book and the author, that how easily this author has brought all of these felicities, all of these good deeds, and the collection of all of these sa'adat, he's brought together in such a simple style. He has concluded and explained to us. So it's a book that I recommend. If you haven't read, get a hold of this book and read it. That's a must read, especially in your Sunday schools as well. It's a must read that they begin reading, and therefore one of the best books as far as the akhlaqiyat and ethics and morality is concerned. So this book reaches, Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum. He praises the book, he praises the author, he makes dua for the author for the hard work that he has done. Mullah Mehdi Naraqi, intends to travel to Atabat al-Aliyat to go to Karbala in Najaf for the ziyarah. So he arrives in Najaf, as everybody usually does, and there he says, everybody's coming to see, because he himself is mullah. The word mullah may have become today something in a wrong connotation, but mullah, those who were referred to as mullah, were really mullah. And therefore, he was known. And so people were coming to see him, Deed, Bazdeed, all of these ulama. Mullah Mehdi Naraqi has come from Iran. They're all going there to see him. And one person doesn't come to see him, and that is who? Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum. So he said, well, that's fine. He may be busy, so I'll go pay a visit to him myself. So he goes one day. They informed that, Mullah Mehdi Naraqi is coming. It's not like you and I are going to see Ayatollah Sistani. It's telling that, for example, Ayatollah Wahid is going to see Ayatollah Sistani. Or, amongst the Maraja that are there, Ayatollah Sayyid Hakim is going to see, for example, Ayatollah Bashir. Or Ayatollah Bashir is going to see, for example, Ayatollah. So there are two of the same caliber are going to see each other. It's a different thing. So he goes, he sees that Bahrul Ulum is busy giving a lecture, as I'm giving a lecture right here. So he walks in from the door and he sits on the side, waits for the Ayatollah to finish his lecture, says Salaam Alaikum, he says Alaikum Salam, but does not really show any regard or anything, and continues with his lecture, finishes the lecture, and Mahfil is barkhas, and everybody goes and leaves. Okay. People felt it, they could see, they could sense that, Mullah Mehdi Naraqi is sitting there, and Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum did not pay any attention to him. No worries, he goes away. Then he goes to the travels, he goes to Karbala to do Samarra, Kazman, does the ziyarat, comes back to Najaf. He said, let me go and see Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum one more time. He said, remember what he did last time? You want to go again, Sheikhna? He said, no, he's alim, he's faqih, I should go for his ziyarat. So he makes an effort to go there again. This time, it was worse than the first time. Last time at least there was some salam alaik. This time he paid zero attention, as if he was non-existent. So someone walks in and I pay zero attention to the wujud of that person in the mahfil. So this was the time even felt even worse. And same thing, mahfil barkhas, he leaves. And then he spends a few days. Now people were coming back to see Mullah Mehdi Naraqi. There's the concept of deed and then baz deed. So you go see someone, they come and see you. And so people were bidding farewell. After a few days passed by, now he was getting ready to go back to Iran. He said, it's unfortunate that I don't get to see Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum one last time before I leave. People said, what's wrong with you? Twice you went, and twice you saw how he's, sent the message, in other words. How he dealt with you, how he treated you, how he mistreated you. He said, no, but he's Aqa, he's Ustad, he's Ayatullah, it doesn't matter. I didn't mind it. I want to go see him again. He said, fine, if you want to, be our guest. So he says, okay, he sets out to go, and they send a news to Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum that Mullah Mahdi Naraqi is on his way to Iran, but he wants to come and see you one last time. He's actually on his way. Upon hearing this, Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum, just in reference to who this man is, it is enough that he was referred to as Rafiq Imam Zaman. That's how he was referenced to. He, without his amama, barefoot, runs out to the street corner to go ahead and do the istiqbal and receive Mullah Mahdi Naraqi. What changed? He kisses his hand, brings him to his house, sits him on the chair, on the mimbar, himself sits down, Zanu-e-Talammuz, sits down, and he says, do some nasihat. Twice that man came, you paid no attention to him. Today, all of a sudden, you run out without amama. It's a big deal for ulama to run out without amama. Those who are constantly wearing amama, they feel like they're walking without any clothes if they go out without amama, barefoot, to go ahead and receive a man out the street, bring him, kiss his hand, sit him on the mimbar, on the chair, and ask him to do nasihat. He said, I was just doing to test Mullah Mahdi Naraqi. He's written a book on akhlaqiyat. I wanted to see the things that he has written in akhlaqiyat about iffat, about modesty, about sabr, about patience. Is he himself practicing those things, or is it only for us? Is it only for the listeners and the readers? Things that he has written in that book in reference to the akhlaqiyat and the morality, is he himself at the peak of that morality, or is it just nasihat to us? But by testing him twice in this way that I treated him, I by now can claim that he is at the highest level of morality himself. That's why he documented books such as this. So here we understand that these are the sifat of muttaqeen that we're trying to inculcate in us. And therefore, these were the individuals that Imam also had as far as his ashab are concerned. One of these sahabi of Imam, who's actually older than Imam, his age on the day of in Karbala is mentioned to be 75 years old. And that is Habib ibn Mudahir. Habib is a great companion of Imam. He was a companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen, who fought in 3 wars with Imam Ali. In Jamal, in Siffin, in Nahrawan. He actually also witnessed Rasulullah because he's 75 years old in Ashur, in Karbala. So he was a young man in the time of Rasulullah. And Rasulullah also, when he used to be in Medina at that time, and then he had moved to Kufa afterwards in the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So he always paid extra attention. And that's why Imam Hussein referred to as Habib as his old, childhood friend, although he was older than Imam Hussein. Who is this man? This man is someone for whom, when he was traveling, he was, on his horse, he was riding in Kufa. He runs into another man, and he says, by looking at that man, that I see someone who's, mashallah, very sihatmand, who will lose his hair from his forehead, and who will be hanged from Darul Zarq, and whose belly will be opened. And a person is someone who sells dates. That was Mitham Tamar, who turned around and he said, I see in front of me a man whose head will be cut open, his blood will stream down to his white beard, and his beard will be colored in the blood of his. And he will die in the rikab of Imam Hussein. This is how these 2 individuals are recognizing one another. उन्होंने इस तरीके से मीसा में तम्मार को पहचाना, और मीसा में तम्मार ने इस तरीके से हबीब इब्न मुवाहिर को पहचाना. ये थी मारिफत इन दोनों की एक साथ. But when this Habib, he is in Kufa and he realizes the situation of Kufa, how bad that situation is, how people have turned their backs against Imam Hussein. And in that time, he receives a letter. He's sitting with his family, someone knocks on the door. He says, who is this? He said, Ana Baridul Hussein. I am a messenger from Hussein. I'm delivering a message from Hussein. He opens the door, he takes the message, he kisses the hands and he kisses the message that was delivered. He opens up the message, he reads it out loud. Min al-Husayn ibn Ali ila al-Rajul al-Faqih Habib ibn Mudahir. This is from Husayn ibn Ali to a Rajul who's Faqih, Habib ibn Mudahir. Habib, we have arrived in Karbala and I'm in need of your help. Allahu Akbar. Imagine receiving such a letter. He receives this letter, and upon receiving this letter, he says, he knew that his people would find out about such a thing. So people were always around him and his surrounding, lest he wants to go towards Karbala. He said, I'm an old man in my 70s. I can't even fight. Do you think that I'm going to take a sword in my hand and go towards Karbala? No. So don't worry about it. So people understood his claim and they left him. So he comes home and he did taqiyya with his wife as well. He said, when his wife asked him, whose letter was it? What is in this letter? He said, it is from Hussein. He said, my Aqa has sent you a letter? He said, yes. And your Aqa has asked, what is he asking? He's asking for my nusrat, that he has arrived in Karbala. So what are you waiting for? He said, I'm thinking that I'm an old man. I can barely hold on to a sword. How am I going to be any useful to Imam Hussein? Upon hearing this, the wife of Habib gets up from her place, says, if you can't go, then give me your sword. I wish I was a man so I can go ahead and help Imam Hussein, the son of Sayyida Zahra. Upon hearing this, Habib says, yes, I'll go, but I'm worried about you, that if I leave, you will become a widow. And my son Qasim, he will become an orphan. She said, you're worried about your family, your wife. تم پریشان ہو کہ تمہاری بیوی بیوہ ہو جائے گی, تمہارا بیٹا قاسم وہ یتیم ہو جائے گا. تمہیں سیدہ کے لال, ان کے گھر والوں, ان کی ازواج, ان کے بچوں کی یتیمی کا خیال نہیں ہے. یہ ساری باتیں کہنی تھیں کہ ایک دفعہ حبیب نے کہا, میں تو صرف تیرا امتحان لے رہا تھا. کیسے ہو سکتا ہے کہ میرے بچپن کا ساتھی مجھے پکارے, مجھے صدا دے اور میں اس کی آواز پہ لبیک نہ کہوں. بس یہ سننا تھا کہ ایک دفعہ حبیب یہ ارادہ کرتے ہیں کہ امام کی نصرت کے لیے نکلیں گے. بس حبیب نے جیسے ہی یہ ارادہ کیا, جانتے تھے کہ کوفے کے کیا حالات ہیں, اپنے غلام سے کہا, میرے گھوڑے کو سواری کو لے جا اور اس تلوار کو بھی چھپا کے فلاں جگہ میرا انتظار کرنا, میں آؤں گا اور میں جاؤں گا پھر کربلا. بس حبیب یہ کہتے ہوئے مختلف راستوں سے گزرتے ہوئے اس جگہ پہنچے. پہنچنے میں تھوڑی تاخیر ہوئی تو دور سے کیا سنتے ہیں کہ غلام یہ کہہ رہا ہے گھوڑے سے کہ اگر میرے آقا نہ آئے تو میں تجھ پہ سوار ہو کے جاؤں گا امام حسین کی نصرت کے لیے. اجرکم اللہ. ایک دفعہ حبیب نے یہ جملے سنے. حبیب کیا کہتے ہیں کہ مولا وہ وقت آ گیا ہے آپ کے اوپر, وہ دن آ گئے ہیں کہ غلام آپ کے اوپر اپنی جانیں قربان کرنے کے لیے تیار ہیں, مگر وہ لوگ جو آزاد ہیں ان کے اندر یہ رمق نہیں ہے کہ وہ آپ کی کمک کے لیے, نصرت کے لیے کھڑے ہوں. ایک دفعہ حبیب پہنچتے ہیں, غلام سے کہتے ہیں تجھے آزاد کیا, اب میں جاتا ہوں کربلا کی جانب. غلام نے کہا اتنے عرصے میں نے آپ کی خدمت کی, اب مجھے مولا کی خدمت کی کبھی چانس دیجئے. بس ایک دفعہ حبیب نے اس کو بھی ساتھ لیا. ساتھ لے کے حبیب آتے ہیں. روزانہ 2 محرم سے لے کے جب بھی کوئی خبر آتی تھی, زینب کہتی تھی فضہ سے کہ اماں فضہ جائیے دیکھیے شور ہے, کون آیا ہے. فضہ آگے کہتی تھیں خولی آیا ہے, فضہ آگے کہتی تھیں شمر آیا ہے, فضہ آگے کہتی تھیں عمر سعد آیا ہے. کہتی تھی کبھی کوئی اچھی خبر نہ آئی, یہاں تک کہ 7 محرم الحرام ہو گئی. بس ایک وہ وقت آیا, ایک دفعہ کسی نے دیکھا کہ کوئی شخص آ رہا ہے امام کے قافلے کی طرف, امام کے خیام کی طرف. جیسے ہی وہ شخص پہنچا ایک دفعہ خوشی کی لہر دوڑ گئی. زینب نے پھر کہا اماں فضہ سے جاگیے دیکھیے کیا شور ہے, لگتا ہے کوئی آیا ہے میرے بھیا کے پاس. آ کے دیکھا, بتایا بیوی کو کہ ہاں حبیب آئے ہیں, امام حسین کے بچپن کے ساتھی حبیب آئے ہیں. حسین پہ کیا مصیبت ہے, حبیب سن میں امام سے زیادہ ہے, مگر دیکھیے امام حسین جس کو 18 سال کے جوان علی اکبر اکبر کا لاشا اٹھانا ہے کہ پیری اس طریقے سے حسین پہ آ جاتی ہے کہ امام حسین لڑکتے ہوئے بیٹے کی لاشے کی طرف جاتے ہیں. اجرکم اللہ، خدا کسی غم میں نہ رلائے. یہی امام نے حر کے ساتھ کیا تھا. جب بکیر زمین پہ آئے کہا اے حر، جوان بیٹے کی لاشے کو نہ اٹھا پاؤ گے، اسی لیے بکیر کو بھی اٹھا کے لائے تھے. کسی نے پوچھا نہیں، حسین بکیر کو اٹھا لائے. ابھی علی اکبر گریں گے تو ان کے لاشے کو کیسے اٹھاؤ گے؟ امام کے اوپر پیری اس طریقے سے آ گئی. ایک دفعہ حبیب کو دیکھا، گلے سے لگایا، اپنے بچپن کے ساتھی کو کا استقبال کیا. ادھر سے فضا آتی ہے، آگے کہتی ہیں کہ اے حبیب، زینب نے اپنا سلام بھیجا ہے. حبیب نے خاک سر میں مل لی، اپنے آپ کو زمین پہ گرا دیا، امامہ زمین پہ رکھ دیا. ارے یہ وقت آ گیا ہے ہم غلاموں کے اوپر کہ سیدانیاں ہم پہ سلام بھیجیں. بس آخری جملے زحمت تمام. وہ وقت آتا ہے روز عاشور کا، ظہر کا وقت ہے کہ جب امام کے صحابی ابو ثمامہ سیداوی نے کہا مولا جی چاہتا ہے ایک آخری نماز آپ کے ساتھ پڑھ لیں. امام نے ان کے حق میں دعا کی، وَجَعَلْنَاكَ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ، اللہ آپ کو مصلین میں سے شمار کرے. امام نے کہا نماز شروع کرنا چاہیے. حبیب سے کہا عمر سعد سے کہہ دو کہ ہمیں اتنی مہلت دے کہ ہم نماز پڑھ لیں. حبیب جاتے ہیں، کہتے ہیں امام حسین نماز پڑھنا چاہتے ہیں، جنگ کو تھوڑی دیر کے لیے روک دو. حسین بھائی سارے ساتھ کا جواب آیا، ارے حسین سے کہہ دو اس کی نماز کس کی کام کی نہیں ہے. حبیب کو تیش آ گیا، اٹھ کھڑے ہوئے، تلوار نیام سے نکالی اور کہا پسر ساتھ تیری نماز قبول ہے، رسول کے نواسے کی نماز قبول نہیں. مولا میرا آخری سلام ہو، میں اس کے بعد سے نہ رہ سکتا. حبیب نے جنگ شروع کی اور پائے شہادت تک پہنچے. الا لعنۃ اللہ القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون انا للہ وانا الیہ راجعون. بار الہ ہمیں اس بات قبول فرما، ہم گناہ گار ہیں، ہمارے گناہوں سے درگزر فرما. ہمیں اہل بیت علیہ السلام کے نقش قدم سے اپنی توفیق عطا فرما، ہمیں ان کی تعلیمات پر عمل کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرما. ہمارے امام کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما، ہمیں ان کے اعوان و انصار میں شمار کر. ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم. ماتم حسین.